Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable colleagues, I remain Lawan Shatima Ali, representing Bursari, the Idemi Dusari Federal Constituency. I'm from Yobe State, sir. I'm standing in for the chairman, Honorable Munir Dan Agundi, chairman on agricultural colleges and institutions, to present this report, sir. That the House do receive the report of the Committee of Agriculture, Colleges and Institutions on a bill for an act to establish Haluri Dantoro University of Fisheries and Aquaculture, New Bassa, Niger State, to promote science-based research in fisheries and aquaculture, and for related matters, HB 1762, referred on 6/4/2022. I saw Mopsa.
Seconder. No, sir. Yes, sir. The two of you. Have you given us the, have you done this? He was the one I recognized.
Oh, okay. Sit down,
okay. Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Speaker.
Okay.
Mr. Speaker, dear colleagues, my name is Francis Charles Uduyok. I represent the Korabas in Barani, Eastern Obolo. I'm from Akwa Ibom State. I rise to second the motion as moved by my dear colleagues. My dear colleague, that the House will receive the report of the committee. I so second.
Respected colleagues, those in favor of the motion say aye. Against say nay. The ayes have it. You may please go ahead and lay your report. Respected colleagues, the first order of the day is the third reading of a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Institute of Environmental Practitioners of Nigeria and for related matters. Standing in the name of the House Leader, honourable members will recall that the House adopted the report of the Committee of the Whole on the bill on Tuesday, 4th April 2022. I therefore call on the Leader of the House to move that the bill be read the third time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My honorable colleagues, I'm Abubakar Maki Eleman. I'm from Jigawa State. I represent Malamud Kauga Mafia constituency. Mr. Speaker, I rise to move for a bill for an act to provide for establishment of the Institute of Environmental Practitioners of Nigeria and for related matters, HB 353, read for the third time. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Acting Deputy Leader.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. My name is Jima Abdurrahim Alajide. I'm acting on behalf of the Chief Whip. I stand to second the motion as moved by acting Majority Leader. Thank you.
Okay. Honorable Mikey, acting leader, can you take 2 to 6 at the same time so that we'll...
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker, as you please. So the second bill is a bill for an act to provide for establishment of Federal University of Education, Igweben, Edo State, and for the related matters, HB 1391, be read for the third time. The third bill is for an act to amend the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria Act Cap A12, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to provide for establishment of Federal College of Horticulture, Ogbege, Imo State, and for related matters, HB 1456, read for the third time. The fourth bill is for an act to amend the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria Act Cap A12, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to provide for establishment of Federal College of Agriculture, Ogbebe, Bayelsa State, and for related matters, HB 1731, read for the third time. The number 5 bill is for an act to amend the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria Act Cap A12, Law of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, made provision for establishment of Federal College of Agriculture, Technical, in Ukwe, Anambra, and for related matters, HB 1261 read for the third time. The bill number 6 is for an act to amend the Federal Capital Territory Customary Code Act 2007 to lay the quantum of the court for the purpose of ensuring timely dispensation of justice, expand the criminal jurisdiction of the court, and for related matters, HB 1592, just read for the third time, the Senate bill. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, sir. Deputy or Acting Whip.
Mr. Speaker, sir, my name is Jima Ibrahim Olajide. I stand for the Chief Whip. I therefore move to second the motion as moved by the majority leader that the item number 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 on the other paper is hereby seconded. Thank you.
Colleagues, those in favor of the motion say aye. Against say nay. They have it. Clerk is invited to read the long titles of the bills.
Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a bill for an act provide for establishment of Institute of Environmental Practitioners of Nigeria and for related matters, third reading. A bill for an act provide for establishment of Federal University of Education, Iguebien, Edo State and for related matters, third reading. A bill for an act to amend the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria Act Cap A12, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, provide for establishment of Federal College of Horticulture, Okigwe, Imo State and for related matters, third reading. A bill for an act to amend the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria Act Cap A12, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, provide for establishment of Federal College of Agriculture, Oboibiri, Bayelsa State and for related matters, third reading. A bill for an act to amend the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria Act Cap A12, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, make provision for establishment of Federal College of Agriculture, Technical, Enugu Uku, Anambra and for related matters, third reading. A bill for an act to amend the Federal Capital Territory Customary Act 2007 to alter the quorum of the court for the purpose of ensuring timely dispensation of justice, expand the criminal jurisdiction of the court and for related matters, third reading.
Bills read the third time and pass. Respected colleagues, the seventh order of the day is commencement of debate on general principle of bill for an act to repeal the Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation Act, CAP N102, Laws of Federation of Nigeria 2004, and enact the Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation Bill 2023 and for related matters. Standing in the name of the House leader, only members recall that the bill was transmitted from the Senate seeking the concurrence of the House and read the first time on Tuesday, 4th April 2023. I now invite the leader to move that the bill be read the third time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Second time, sorry.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleagues. I remain Abubakar Maki Eleman. I'm from Jigawa State. I represent Madam Dorikau Gama Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, with the pleasure of the House, I will read the bill of 7, 8, and 9 as the House pleases. A bill for an act to repeal the Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation Act Cap N102, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and enact the Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation Bill 2023, and for related matters, HB 1296, be read for the second reading. Number 8, a bill for an act to provide for establishment of Federal University, Gusau.
What's the point of order?
Yes.
What is the point of order? Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, My name is Toby Okechukwu. I represent an area of Woji River Federal Constituency from Enugu State. I think our colleague was doing 7, and he moved speedily to 8. And these are bills for second reading. And we need to be properly briefed on the circumstances of the bill, what the mischief it wants to cure, because it's an existing act. And it's quite substantial. So we need to know what the acting leader, as you said in this case, even though he's an upcoming rookie, he's a rookie transiting to a ranking member. Mr. Speaker, I think that my colleague here should be able to give us the synopsis, the gist, what the bill is all about before he jumps to the next one.
Well,
we were able to tolerate the other ones because they are for third reading, which means we wouldn't be doing anything.
well,
But for second reading, we need to discuss the principles. Thank you.
my brother, is not the first time we are doing that. And if you have an interest on a particular bill, I will, it's your own privilege and right to seek for the opportunity to speak on that bill. But what he has done is in conformity with what, even yesterday in the proceedings, that was how it was done. And just a quick referral. Any bill that is coming that has to do that, not too controversial, we have given that opportunity. But if you want us to debate the first bill, we'll do that. And Mikey may not be the best person because he's holding forth for somebody. And I believe that somebody that's adequately equipped to lead the House in the debate and then clarify whatever issue that we have. Honorable Wakocha, who is the Senate designate, we are waiting to be sworn in, a member and chairman of the committee, is adequately equipped to give you every information that is required. So we, because it's his own committee, and he pushed for the procedure where we are now.
Yeah, I have no problem with it. The committee has complete responsibility for it. The seized of the facts. We need to know.
Thank you. Let us not waste our precious time. If you want us to, let's stop at the first bill that has to do with NIDC. There is a sconda. Can you lead the debate so that you give us a clarification? Thank you. It doesn't matter. He is a chairman of the committee. Except you are saying you do not recognize his importance as a chairman of the committee and his interest. Thank you. I thought it was seconded. Please go ahead and second the.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My name is Jim Abdurrahim Olajide. I represent the Government Lambera constituency. I stand in for the Chief Whip. I therefore second the motion as moved by the acting leader. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Okocha, please lead the debate.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and dear colleagues. My name is Darlington Nwokocha. I represent Isialangwa North, Isialangwa South Federal Constituency. I'm from Abia State, and also the senator-elect to represent Abia Central.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, a bill for an act to repeal the Nigerian Deposit Insurance Act, cap N102 laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004. And we're trying to enact the Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation Bill 2023 and for related matters. Mr. Speaker, why I emphasized on 2004 is for us to know the last time this particular bill was enacted into law. And we know that the system we find ourselves is very dynamic. And when we're talking about insurance and other related matters that has to do with banking industry, there are so many other things, including things like fintech, which is more modern than what we had before while this law was enacted in 2004. And there are some other areas that we need to bring up to speed within our environment to make sure that we brace all inconsistencies and stem everything that will make our banking industry not to be effective. Mr. Speaker, the responsibility of all these I have mentioned lies around the Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation. This particular bill has passed through all the processes in the Senate, and they transmitted it to the House of Representatives for concurrence, for us to look at it and now align perfectly well where the need arises. And I know quite well that the NDIC is saddled with the responsibility of carrying out some public policy objectives, which includes protecting bank depositors by providing an orderly means of compensation in the event of failure, and also rendering financial system stability through effective surveillance mechanism in a bid to enhance public confidence. And this public confidence, as far as banking is concerned, is something that will help us as insurance to calm off red nerves. Mr. Speaker, I think it's very important, and I'm pleading with our colleagues, because of the dynamism in our environment, to look into to allow the NDIC perform and regulate properly. I'm calling on my colleagues to please look into this and support this motion effectively. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Approach the chair. Opposition, don't worry, it's about lobbying. Yes, sir. Okay. No, not properly brief.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, my fellow colleagues. I am Oluwole Oke, Ijesha North. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Osun State. Mr. Speaker, why I cherish and adore the conventions practices between Senate and the House when it comes to issue of concurrence, Mr. Speaker, at all times, anything that is worth doing well. I'm a member of House Committee on Insurance. And Mr. Speaker, if we are talking about repealing an existing act to reenact another law, sir, it's very imperative, Mr. Speaker, that we have the documents. In law, you cannot change the content of a written document by oral narration. Mr. Speaker, I plead that we won't be asking too much. If we probably step this matter down and we have the document, the bill, its content, the clauses, the sections that this bill seeks to amend, and have a proper grasp of the issues. And then we'll bring it here so that, it's a very sensitive document. It's a very sensitive law. That's my application, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, sir.
Well, I want to make a passionate appeal. Colleagues, this is the beauty of this House. When they want to support, they will have every reason to support a bill, but they want to shoot it down, there are many technical areas they could come to. And I want to appeal to our brothers that we are not yet to get into the committee of the whole. And for every bill that has passed to get into this stage, in our compendium, we have it published, whether it's the Senate, and I believe it has taken that it is coming to the House for the first time, does not exclude us from saying that, or affirming that this bill was publicized. I believe it, second reading was the first first on our gazetted. If it is gazetted, it is our own duty to know. It's not at this point. That's the truth. You don't go for concurrence and begin to ask for details because it is assumed it has passed the normal procedure in the other chamber. And so it is not at this chamber they will begin to ask the details. The details will come to you if you want to have it when we go to committee of the whole. That's the procedure. And please, sir, I want to beg for that. I want to beg for that. We are not yet in the committee of the whole. Thank you. Those in favor that the bill be read second time say aye. Aye. Against say nay. That's have it. Clerks is budgeted to read long time for the bill.
Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members. A bill for an act to repeal the Nigeria Deposit Insurance Corporation Act, CAP, N102, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, and enact the Nigeria Deposit Insurance Corporation Bill 2023 and for related matters. Second reading.
Bill referred to committee of the whole. The Speaker calling the eighth order of the day is commencement debate on general principle of bill for an act to provide for the establishment of Federal University of Gusau, Zamfara State, and for related matters, standing in the name of the House Leader. All members will recall that the bill was transmitted from the Senate, seeking the concurrence of the House, and read the first time on Tuesday, 13 December 2022. I now invite the leader to move that the bill be read the second time. We can go ahead and take on the remaining bills that are under your purview.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleagues. I'm Abubakar Maki Eleman. I'm from Jigawa State. I represent Madam Dodo Kaugama Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I rise to move for a bill to an act to provide for establishment of Federal University Gusau, Zamfara State, and for related matters, HB 2135, Senate bill, be read for the second time. The number 9 bill is for an act to amend the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, CAP, N30 Law of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, to strengthen the operation of the agency, empower the agency to establish laboratories, update to list of diagnosed drugs, review the penalty provisions.
List of dangerous drugs.
The power of the agency.
Dangerous drugs. Thank you.
Enhance the power of the agency to prosecute drug-related offense and issue subsidiary legislation and for related matters, HB 2195, Senate bill, be read for the second time. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The whip.
Mr. Speaker, my name is Jima Ibrahim Olajide. I represent Lagos Mainland Federal Constituency, Lagos State. I stand in for the Chief Whip. I therefore second that the motion has moved. It's hereby read for the second time. Thank you.
Those in favor that the bills be read second time say aye. Against say nay. That's a bit. Which is the first one? No, we took the two together. Clerks invited the long titles of the bills.
Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members. A bill for an act provide for establishment of Federal University of Gusau, Zamfara State, and for related matters. Second reading. A bill for an act to amend the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency Act, N30, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, to strengthen the operations of the agency, empower the agency to establish laboratories, update the list of dangerous drugs, review the penalty provisions, enhance the power of the agency to prosecute drug-related offenses and issue subsidiary legislation and for related matters. Second reading.
Respected colleagues, bills referred to committee of the whole. The 10th order of the day is commencement of debate on the general principle of bill for an act to domesticate new partnership for African development framework and establish African Union Development Agency, and to give effect to the provisions of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to give effect in the provisions in the Federal Republic of Nigeria and for this matter, standing in the names of Honorable Gideon Gwani and Honorable Dachung Musa Bagos, All members who recall the bill was read the first time on Tuesday, 21st March 2023. I now invite Honorable Goni to move that the bill be read the second time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, my name is Honorable Gideon Goni. I come from Kaduna State. I represent Kaura Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I move that a bill for an act to domesticate new partnership for Africa's development framework and establish African Union Development Agency and to give effect to its provisions in the Federal Republic of Nigeria and for related matters, HB 2180, that this bill be read a second time. I so move.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, Toby Okechukwu is my name, and I represent an area of Gojiriba Federal Constituency from Enugu State. I hereby second that the bill for the creation of African Partnership Agency be read the second time. I so second.
Honorable Goni, you want to lead? Better put the question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Once again, my name is Honorable Gideon Goni. I come from Kaduna State. I represent Kaura Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, we all do know that the importance of international agreements is to enhance rapid growth and development of a country that is in collaboration and cooperation with other nations of the world. Therefore, usually the domestication of treaties is beneficial to all countries that are in partnership. It is to this effect, Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, that this bill seeks to establish the African Union Development Agency. This bill is an offshoot of the new Partnership for African Development. The bill seeks to give effects to its provision in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, the entirety of this bill is geared towards the fulfillment of the Agenda 2063 of the Partnership for African Development, which is NEPAD. The bill also provides for the functions of the agency, with functions ranging from job creation, human capacity development, and economic development projects. Strategically, these functions are not only geared towards Africa as a continent, but it is also geared towards to take the unique needs of our dear country. This bill seeks to provide the framework for the actualization of the provisions of the agreement. Therefore, I wish to urge my respected colleagues to please support this bill for it to be read a second time. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, sir. I'll come to you. No problem. No problem.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. My name is Jima Abdurrahim Alajide. I represent Lagos Mainland Federal Constituency, Lagos State. Mr. Speaker, this bill, on the other paper, item 10, I will want a clarity because I think it is too ambiguous. Simply because we are talking of two different things at a time. Mr. Speaker is not listening, sir. It's very important. Yes. Mr. Speaker, sir.
Point of order. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
What order, please? What order, please? He's taking undue advantage as a leader. He's taking undue advantage. If we raise point of order, he will not refer us to the exact point of order.
Mr. Speaker, it is very imprudent on a member to stand up and begin to talk without the recognition of the presiding officer.
He has recognized.
No, you didn't. I was on point of order. I have not uttered a word, and you got up and started speaking.
What point of order? Excuse me.
It's an abuse of process and a misconduct in the House.
What's the point of order?
No, you can't be doing point of order when the first point of order.
Colleagues, please, let's be listen to our colleagues in silence. I want to beg for that opportunity and please to allow him to raise the point of order. He has raised a point of order. The normal procedure when he calls a point of order, he is supposed to stop, which he did. But he is also supposed to refer us to the point of order he's raising. Thank you.
Let me conduct that. You see, Mr. Speaker, you see, some of these orders are very, very well on our palms. And more importantly, you see, there was an undue intervention when Mr. Doctor was talking to you. And you said that Mr. Speaker is not listening to me. And if not for that, they are rookies. And I'm happy that Sada and other people have come so that they can take a back seat. If not for that, he would have known that the chief whip was acting whip is beside him and asked the whip to do his job instead of harassing the speaker. This is not how you conduct house business. The conduct of allowing members to deal with the issue, speak in silence.
Well,
you see, that is, these people are not trained for leadership yet. So that you take a back.
well, thank you, leader, for bringing the attention to that the speaker was listening to the person making his presentation rapidly, even though somebody was with him. So thank you. I think that's what he wanted to let you know. You may go ahead and proceed.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for the privilege you have given to me again. Honestly speaking, you are a good leader. And you are a good listener. I only called your attention. I've never done any other thing that is incriminating. When somebody comes out to raise points of order, he has to refer us to that point of order. So he was only trying to use his leadership position to suppress us. And we will not take that from him. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, thank you for the privilege. I want us to go to the item 10, the second reading that has just been read, and we have listened to the synopsis, but there's some kind of ambiguity, sir, in which I want clarity, in the sense that we are talking of two things at a time. A bill for an act to domesticate new partnership for African development framework and established. That's two things at a time. You want to domesticate one and establish another one at the same time. So it's not clear enough. That's the kind of ambiguity I want to clear for us. Thank you.
Maybe the clarity I would like to give is this. First, these are two different bills that were consolidated, sponsored by Honorable Gwani and then Honorable Musa Bagos. And I think one has to do with the international treaty, the other one has to do with the establishment of the agency. The international couldn't have asked to establish. I want to believe this is why they have the headings you are now quoting. But there are two bills looking at the merit possibly of the treaty, and for the implementation, member is certain for our establishment of an agency that will handle that. And I think there's nothing bad. I will give you an example of the SDG today we're all benefiting. It is out of international treaty that we got that one, but we have to establish an agency that is responsible for that, and we are benefiting and the country is benefiting. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker, distinguished honorable colleagues. I remain Honorable Osai Nicholas Osai, and I represent the good people of Ndokwa Okwani Federal Constituency of Delta State. Mr. Speaker, I think I'm highly familiar with this treaty. And I also know that the treaty gives every member that have signed into those treaties to give effect to the provision of that agreement. And I'm giving effect to the provision of that agreement is by establishing an agency to that effect. So the mover of this bill is in order, proper, is in good shape, both in content and everything about this bill. So it is a welcome development to this country. Because, Mr. Speaker, let me give you a little bit insight. You will discover at a time when our former President Obasanjo, started this move. Mr. Speaker, Nigeria owes about 80% of the funding of this particular issue. And when I investigated it, I also invited most of the part of people who are involved in this issue, which I laid before this Honorable House. Mr. Speaker, I urge every member of this Honorable House to give effect to this provision by giving every support, not by weight, but by the content of what is to be implemented. So I so support it, Mr. Speaker, and I wish it should be passed with the speed of light. I so submit.
Respected colleagues, okay, you still want to add more flesh? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. My name is Toby Okechukwu, and I represent an area of Goji River Federal Constituency from Enugu State. Mr. Speaker, there are bills and there are also bills. And it is very important that the dual responsibility of this bill of domesticating the treaty and at the same time giving effect to it through an agency is sufficiently enabled, that where we contribute 80% of the establishment of the effort, man hours, and funding in establishment of this treaty, that we should, through the agency, make sure that we play a prime role. You know, Nigeria is good in building, making discoveries. But at the same time, when it comes to performance, when it comes to reaping the benefits of our ideas, of our contributions, we underwhelm ourselves. It is very clear, even in security, that Nigeria has intervened in several West African countries, leading the prime role in liberating those countries. But at the end of the day, the Speaker is being forced to do the whip's
please
job.
go and sit down, please. Honorable Halims, your constituents are watching you, please.
Ajokuta, can you sit down, please? Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, in trying to support this bill and the level of input Nigeria has made to it, when it came to signing the treaty, we were a bit tentative. But now it has come. The leading role we played in initiating it, funding it coming into effect, should be the leading role we should play when the benefits are there. And I pointed out the role we played in liberating some African countries. When it comes to taking benefit, this has to do with trade. But as you are aware, Mr. Speaker, Nigerian citizens are victims of harassment in South Africa in spite of our liberation struggle role. Nigerian citizens are victims of trade or harassment in Ghana, in some other West African countries. We must make sure that in provisions of the agency, in manning the agency with the quality of staff we need, Mr. Speaker, we must make sure that people who are properly seized of the situation of Nigerians in other African countries man the agency. They must go through particular
Francis
training.
Agbo,
And
please go and sit down. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, so when this bill goes for second reading, it should be global enough, it should be expanded enough that the committee does a good job so that all stakeholders, including the situation of citizens in other West African or African countries, are allowed to make input. So we know the kind of effect we can give to this bill. So I think the bill is germane, is patriotic, is African enough, but we must reap where we have sown. Thank you very much. I support the bill.
Thank you very much. I believe we are in consensus that this is a very nice bill, and we agree that it should pass. But I'm making my comment because of the issue raised by Honorable Toby in his last comment as to having a very widespread consultation in terms of public hearing. Colleagues, remember, maybe after tomorrow we shall be breaking, and the lifespan of the House is almost getting to an end. Bills like that require quick intervention may not need to go through those processes, but rather we should work hard. Rather than committing it to committee, or rather commit this kind of bill to committee of the whole, so that we'll come and do the needful there, and that's what I want to appeal to colleagues. Thank you. Those in favor that the bill be read second time, say aye. Against, say nay. That's have it. Clerk is invited to read the long title of the bill.
Right, Honorable Speaker, honorable members. A bill for an act to domesticate new partnership for Africa's development framework and establish African Union Development Agency, and to give effect to its provisions in the Federal Republic of Nigeria and for related matters. Second reading.
Bill referred to committee of the whole. Respected colleagues, the 11th order of the day is commencement of debate on the general principle of bill for an act to provide for the establishment of Nigerian weight and measures regulatory agency and for related matters. Standing the name of Olufemi Fakai, all members will recall that the bill was read the first time on Tuesday, 21st March 2023. I now invite the leader to move the bill be read the second time. Thank you. Honorable Fakai, please. Leader of the Southwest.
Okay, here we are. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. My name is Honorable Femi Fake. I represent the people of Ifedayo, Buluwadru and Ilai Federal Constituency. I'm from Osun State. I move that the House I want to raise a bill for an act to repeal the Weights and Measures Act, Cap W3, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, and that will enact in its place the Nigerian Weights and Measures Regulatory Agency Establishment Bill 2023 for the development and enforcement of varying scopes of legal metrology activities for the promotion of fair trade, protection of public health, safety and environment, and for related matters. HB 2183. I so move. Thank you.
Welcome back, Honorable Solomon Mare.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, my very distinguished colleagues. Honorable Solomon Maren is my name, and I represent the good people of Mangu Bokos Federal Constituency. I am from the home of peace and tourism, Plateau State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the bill moved by my colleague for second reading. I saw second. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Leader, you may lead the debate.
The subject of meteorology is the science of waves and measures, and it's a global practice. Somehow in this country, we have not taken it as seriously as we should have. What do I mean? You go to any market, you want to buy beans or rice. I'm not talking about supermarket now, just our local markets. You buy mudu or whatever, you find that these measures have been bashed in here and there. And it's convention, you don't argue, you just buy. Globally, it has changed, and Nigeria needs to change with the rest of the world. And so, the federal government set up a policy committee to look at how to address this situation. In 2021, our Federal Executive Council, FEC, they approved that we need to repeal and enact this bill that we are proposing today. The bill is that we have to have this agency to stand alone, self-funding, because I know this House is concerned about new agencies, new commissions, without thinking about how to raise the money to sustain such agencies. This one here is something we have to do because we are already part of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. We have to be a part of it because, as you see in paragraph 3 of the synopsis, other countries in Africa, Tanzania, Mali, Ghana, they're already ahead of us in putting in place an agency that will ensure that when we are trading goods between Africa and Africa, we can be sure that the measure is appropriate and is standard. That is one point. The other point is that it will be self-funding because this bill, in proposing it, has addressed the issue of how this existing bill that we are trying to repeal came into being about 20 years ago, 2004. In which case, you find all the charges that they should pay to government agencies when they go to do weights and measures. They are still 100 naira here, 200 naira, when today everybody is talking thousands and millions in Nigeria. So this bill has taken that into consideration. You find in it how we are brought up to speed, up to date, all the charges that people pay. Weights and measures affect just everywhere, everybody. You go and buy fuel, go and buy LPG. Weights and measures are there. But they are not being done the proper way that they should be done. So we are hoping to cure all these lapses in this bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I so move.
More contribution? The question now is the bill be raised second times. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Against say nay. That's have it. Clerk is invited to read the long title of the bill.
Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members. A bill for an act to repeal the Weights and Measures Act, W3, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, and enact the Nigerian Weights and Measures Regulatory Agency Establishment Bill 2023 for the deployment and enforcement of varying scopes of legal metrology activities for the promotion of fair trade, protection of public health, safety and environment, and for related matters. Second reading.
Bill referred to Committee of the Whole. Respected colleagues, the 12th order of the day is commencement of debate on general principle of bill for an act to amend the Public Complaint Commission's Act Cap P37 Laws of Federation of Nigeria 2004 and for related matters. Standing in the name of Honorable Sergeant Ogun, all members will call the bill was read the first time on Thursday, 24th March 2022. I now invite the leader to move that the bill. I now invite Honorable Sajid to move that the bill is read second time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm Sejus Ose Ogun. I represent Esan Northeast, Esan Southeast, and I'm from Edo State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to move that.
Honorable Faike, you are a leader. You just finished reading your bill, please.
Act, Cap P37 laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2007, and for related matters, we read for a second time. Mr. Speaker, I so move.
Honorable Speaker Kano, former.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I remain Right Honorable Kabir Alassar Room, NNPP Kano. I rise to support the motion moved by my brother, Sergius. I so second, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order. Thank you. Honorable Sergeant, you want to throw? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is a very straightforward bill. The public, the Public Complaints Commission Act, as it stands today, doesn't provide for funding. And this is a very important body. The Commission is conferred with the powers to inquire into complaints by members of the public concerning administrative action of any public authority and companies or their officials and other matters ancillary thereto. Mr. Speaker, as laudable as this is, but the Commission is not funded. So we're just amending the Act to allow for funding and therefore penalty. The penalty today is 500 naira. So we're increasing it to 1,000, and the prison term is 6 months. I mean, we're asking for it to be reviewed to 1 year. That's all, Mr. Speaker. It's simple and it's harmless. Thank you.
Respected colleagues, the question now is that the bill bears second time. Those in favor say aye. Against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk is invited to read the long title of the bill.
Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a bill for an act to amend the Public Complaints Commission Act, Cap P37, laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, and for related matters. Second reading.
Bill referred to Committee of the Whole. Respected colleagues, the 13th order of the day is a motion on passage of Constitution 5th Alteration Bill number 47, Establishment of the State Security Council 2023, standing in the Honorable Ahmed Idris and 68 others. Honorable members will call. Honorable members, Honorable Wasi is invited to move the motion to be presented by the Chairman Roos.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, I am Abubakar Sanfulata. I represent Berniwa Krika Samaguri Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I am from Jigawa State. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, passage of Constitution 5th Alteration Bill number 47, Establishment of State Security Council, 2003. House recalls that on 24th of January 2003, the clerk of the National Assembly was directed to transmit 35 constitution alteration bills that met the requirements of Section 92, Section 9, subsection 2 of the 1999 Constitution to Mr. President for his assent. Also recalls that houses of assembly of Gombe, Jigawa, Kebbi, Kwara, Plateau, Sokoto, Taraba, Zamfara states that were yet to forward their resolutions were urged to do so in compliance with constitutional obligations. Aware that Oyo and Zamfara states, houses of assembly have accordingly forwarded their resolutions. Convinced that with the approval of Oyo and Zamfara states, houses of assembly, the Constitution 5th Alteration Bill number 47, Establishment of State Security Council, has made the provisions of Section 9 subsection 2 of the 1999 Constitution for passage. House resolves to urge Gombe, Jigawa, Kebbi, Kwara, Plateau, Sokoto, and Taraba states, houses of assembly that are yet to forward their resolutions on the bills to do so in fulfillment of their constitutionally imposed legislative obligations to the Constitution amendment process. Mandate the clerk to the National Assembly to transmit the bill to the President for his assent in line with the provision of the Act of Authentication Act. Assume, Mr. Speaker.
Olododo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, I remain Olododo Abdugani, speaking for the people of Ilorin South Federal Constituency, and from Kwara State of Harmony. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion ably raised by my chairman, Honorable Fulata. I so second.
You want to lead the debate? Except, I think it's a very straightforward bill. Emotion, sorry. Go ahead.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, the alteration, the making of laws is the responsibility of every legislature. The alteration of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has a combined responsibility of the National Assembly and the state legislature. And when our republic is aching, when our republic is tampered with by security, it is expected that each of these legislatures should discharge their responsibility with some level of speed. That is the only way to show that we are minded about the worries of the republic. And it is of concern, Mr. Speaker, that the passage of the Constitution 5th Alteration Bill number 47, dealing with the establishment of State Security Council, that our people are erring and they are showing reluctance. The various state legislatures are showing reluctance in passing them. as well as other bills. So, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I remember, but it's about close to 1 year when these bills were dealt with. The same thing with the local government autonomy bill, the various legislations we have passed. If we are not able to establish state police, Mr. Speaker, let us do the minimum and have a body that is recognized by law that can deal with matters of security. And that is the only way, Mr. Speaker, we will not be shifting the goalpost, looking for who to blame at any point in time. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, some responsibilities that ordinarily would be discharged at the state level, they begin to look for a federal nomenclature to deal with it. This is one clear case where we can deal with matters better. Even if we don't agree, let us say so. If we agree, let us deal with it. 9 months, 1 year after, it doesn't show good that we are conscious of what is happening to us. I will also use this platform for our colleagues who are from those states that have not passed this bill or some of the bills. Well, these members of state legislatures are constituents. The governors are constituents. Let us know the reason why this should not be given speedy attention, as well as other bills. I know there are a good number of them. This is just one bill that the two states have passed, and they have it's now possible to transmit to Mr. President. What of the others? So I'm just using this as a way to raise our consciousness that our job is not done. If we vacate this session, 9th Assembly, without those bills being dealt with, then by affliction of law, they will no longer, they will have to be reintroduced and started de novo. Thank you very much.
Well, colleagues, what Honorable Toby is trying to do is to bring to the fore our own responsibility, and then our brothers who are coming from the various states of the Federation. And I agree in total with his submission, because there are some bills that possibly, if the remaining states that have not passed yet their own submission, if they're able to do, we may gain again on other areas. For example, the alteration that has to do with local government autonomy. There could be deciding factors, and it's my plea and appeal. I will join him to appeal to those states to also act. And it will not be out of sight, out of order for us who are coming from those states to again appeal to those states to consider some of the bills that are before them. Thank you very much. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Against say nay. The ayes have it. Colleagues,
Oldodo, please.
I want to beg that the normal procedure, and then in accordance with our rules, company, please take their seat. It is not allowed for members to be standing on the way. It is contained in our rules. And it is not also allowed to be standing inside chambers, reason being that we have to conduct ourselves in the manner that's supposed to be. At least when somebody is on his feet, he's supposed to be seen and heard properly. We interfere, and we're doing things that are unethical and against totally our rules that were set for ourselves. I want to beg that if you want to converse with a colleague, nothing but in low tune, get to his seat and sit close to him and speak in the manner that nobody will even hear you, the next person. This is what is supposed to be done. Please. Thank you very much. What is the problem with Maki? Maki, I think you have to see him.
No, don't worry, sir.
So that he can settle all other issues.
I know his problem. We discuss.
Thank you, sir. The 14th order of the day is a motion on discharge of committees on referral on bills standing in the name of Honorable Flatter. Honorable Flatter is invited to move the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, I am Abubakar Samfulata. I represent Berniwa Krika Samaguli Federal Constituency, Mr. Speaker. I'm from Jigawa State. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, discharge of committees on reference on bills pursuant to Order 18, Road 31G of the Standing Orders of House of Representatives. House noted the following bills were separately read a second time and referred to various committees of the House for decisive action, namely, Builders Registration, etc. Act, Amendment Bill 2022, House Bill 2119, referred to Committee on Works, National Institute of Entrepreneurship and Innovation, Okota, Isolo, Lagos State, Establishment Bill 2022, House Bill 1912, referred to House Committee on Tertiary Education and Services, Federal Medical Center, Ejibo, Lagos, Establishment Bill 2022, House Bill 1913, referred to House Committee on Health Institutions. Aware that the committees are yet to present reports on the bills, contrary to provisions of Order 18, Rule 31G of the Standing Orders of the House of Representatives, to wit, any matter referred to any committee shall be treated within 30 days. Otherwise, the committee shall stand discharged after 60 days, and the matter committed to the Committee of the Whole for consideration. House resolves to discharge the committees above mentioned from the bills referred to them and commit same to the Committee of the Whole for consideration. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Ganiu Johnson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, my name is Abdul Ghani Johnson. I represent the good people of Oshodi Solo Federal Constituency 2. I rise to second the motion ably moved by the Chairman on Rules and Business, Honorable Fulata. I so second. Thank you very much.
Respected colleagues, those in favor of the motion say aye. Against say nay. That's have it. The 15th order of the day is a motion on need to investigate the non-provision of mobile telecommunications network services to the undeserved and unserved areas of Nigeria by the Nigerian Communication Commission, standing in the name of Honorable Sergius Ogu. Honorable Ogu is invited to move the motion.
Yes, Daddy. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm Sergius Ose Ogun. I represent Eastern Southeast, Eastern Northeast, and I'm from Edo State. Needs to investigate the non-provision of mobile telecommunication network services to the underserved and unserved areas of Nigeria by the Nigerian Communications Commission. The House notes that Section 3 of the Nigeria Communications Act, Cap N97, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, established the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC, with the responsibility of regulating the communications sector in Nigeria. The House also notes that the provisions, Section 4 of the Nigerian Communications Act, Cap N97, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, the NCC is saddled with the responsibility of facilitating investment in and entry into Nigerian market for provision and supply of communication services, equipment, and facilities. The House is aware that in the wake of the rapid expansion of the global system of mobile communication, GSM, in Nigeria, most of the mobile telecommunication network operators were reluctant to move to the rural areas owing to business considerations. The House is also aware that the Nigerian Communications Act, Cap N97, Laws of Federation of Nigeria 2004, empowers the NCC to receive 2.5% of the annual turnover of the mobile telecommunication network operators as annual license renewal fee. The House is further aware that the NCC is expected to utilize the funds generated from the contributions of mobile telecommunication network operators for implementing universal access strategy and program in accordance with the federal government's policy thereon, as enshrined in Section 4 of the Act. The House is informed that the NCC on its own decided to contribute 40% of the funds generated from the 2.5% annual turnover from mobile telecommunication network operators, translating to 1% of the annual turnover of the operators to the Universal Service Provision Fund, USPF, a practice common throughout Africa. The House is also informed that the Universal Service Provision Fund, USPF, is to be used to build infrastructure in the underserved and unserved areas of Nigeria, which can subsequently be made available to the mobile telecommunication network operators, who will in turn utilize such infrastructure in serving the areas that they are headed to, underserved and unserved. The House is further informed that the first major infrastructure project attempted by the NCC in this regard was the Emergency Response System, EROS, which led to the construction of emergency communication centers all over the country, with little or no results, although the contract was awarded in millions of US dollars, with annual physical appropriations to the said project. The House is disturbed that the inability of the NCC to utilize the USPF to promote the widespread availability and usage of network services and applications throughout Nigeria, as enshrined in Section 112 of the Nigerian Communications Act, Cap N97, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, is a great disservice to the nation. The House resolves set up an ad hoc committee to investigate the failure/inability of the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC, to promote widespread availability and usage of mobile telecommunication network service throughout Nigeria, including the underserved and unserved areas, and report back within 4 weeks for further legislative action. Mr. Speaker, my highly esteemed colleagues, I so move. Yes, Daddy.
Seconded to the motion before your amendment. And Abdul Salam Bamidele.
Mr. Speaker, my name is Bamidele Salam. I represent the fantastic people of Ede North.
Honorable Hafizu Taroni, please go to your seat.
Hafiz. And the Jibo Federal Constituency of Osun State. I stand this afternoon to second the motion ably moved by Honorable Segios. I so second, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
So just give us more light.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as you may remember, I think the GSM came on stream, I think 2000, 2001. And the license holders then, as the MTN, Glo, Airtel, and all of them, were supposed to take services to the rural areas. Because of commercial considerations, as most of us will know, I am sure we have communities that have requested for masts to be installed in their communities. And some of us have written clearly to these bodies. And they will tell you it's commercial. We don't have enough people in these areas. So if we go and install a mast, we are not going to get the return on that investment. But the NCC Act was amended, I think it was in the 6th Assembly, to allow for 2.5% of the annual turnover of the telcos, that the telecommunication companies, to be used by NCC to take the infrastructure to the rural areas. So the NCC, in their own wisdom, dedicated 1% of that fund, which is like 30% of it, to taking infrastructure there. So the idea is that when you have that infrastructure in the rural area, those GSM operators can co-locate their facility there. making it possible to have universal service provision. So if that had happened, everywhere in this country would be covered. That's what that fund was meant for. But what the NCC did for the start, they started with emergency response system, awarded a lot of contracts everywhere. You and I know we don't have that today. Our locals, our communities, there's no emergency response number. Even the units that they so-called, they built, places that were built by NCC, they are not functioning. So the question today, all the monies, the millions of dollars that is collected from the telcos as part of their annual renewal license that goes to NCC, that is meant for this, what is it used for? If we don't have universal coverage in Nigeria, 1, and the universal response system, 2, what is it used for? So, Mr. Speaker, it's straightforward. We need to ask questions. I don't want to go into the issues of when people said they didn't have coverage during the elections and they cannot send, transmit or anything. I don't want to go into all that today.
Yes,
but if this NCC had done its work, we would have had universal coverage in this country today. And if fund has been provided for that, what has happened to the fund? That is the question. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Maybe before further intervention, I don't know. The chairman communication is here, but I'm aware that universal service that particular department is almost its own now. It's no longer attached to NCC. I want to believe so. So, I think so. I want to believe so. It's now a full-fledged department. I don't know whether it's still under NCC. And what does the law say in terms of what we have? Yes, sir.
Hello, Mr. Speaker. My name is Honorable Akim Adeniyi Adeyemi. I represent the group people of Afijo, Atiba, Oyo East and Oyo West. Mr. Speaker, the mover of this motion has overlapped some function of NCC and also as regard service providers' responsibility. Some of these analysis of the mover of the motions are the exclusive right of service providers who are in the country to do business, practically to do business, and they know the area they can cover as time permit. The NCC just only regulate, and they know the providers are in the country to make money. And the act of the NCC has stated clearly their limitation and what of view. If we are talking about the coverage of the whole country, this is a continuous something by the broadband of the NCC, which cannot be covered at a go. Every year they do present budget and they do move and try to cover the entire country. But everything is on progress. It cannot be done at a go. It's not only Nigeria. There's no country in Africa that have been covered 100%. Not even in South Africa that LTE come from. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
What I wanted you to clarify more, I'm aware of the department, Universal Service Provision Fund, where you have a complete department under NCC. And I know that, let us be frank, a lot of interference. But I can also give it said to sergeants for free that I know my committees have written in more than 5 term locations, and we have gotten that intervention in terms of coming to intervene in the rural areas. Though the network may not be as strong as other areas. So I believe they are doing their own best, but as to whether coverage, we would like to be the first. We don't want to be second to any country in Africa or in the world. What we should aspire to give our country is to give the best of services. That is what we should stand for. What I'm asking, is this department still on its own, or is still under the caprices and then workings of the Nigerian Communication Commission? You are the person who's oversighting. They are handling this fund this particular fund he's talking about. Yes.
No. Mr. Speaker, this department is exclusively on its own under the chairmanship of the Honorable Minister of Digital Economy and Communication. So the NCC separate USPF fund is being run separately under the chairmanship of the Minister of Communication and Digital Economy. And we believe they are expanding. We believe they are trying every year, and the coverage is improving every year. It's not something that can be done at a go.
As for me, I appreciate the motion, and I'm intending with the intendment of the motion, but I pray that my brother will step it down for him to make more assessment, and then if getting the departments and the rest, so that we can know exactly where to direct. We don't get confused. You can do this today, we will have it tomorrow. Is okay, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, my name is Toby Okechukwu. I represent an area of Gojiriba Federal Constituency from Enugu State. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, the motion regarding the need to investigate the non-provision of mobile telecommunication network service to underserved and universal areas of Nigeria by Nigerian Communication Commission by our colleague Sejus is quite timeless. Mr. Speaker, if you check the contemporary pressures in Nigeria today, you'll find out that the motion is in all fours with the expectations of Nigerians. More importantly, when we do elections that have sufficiently gone digital. Two, we do what did I call this cashless policy? We do cashless policy where our citizens are expected to transfer money. Mr. Speaker, a word of mine who traveled to the village told me she's not able to come back today because she has no place to draw cash and she cannot transfer. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, we know that there is this fund. This fund is expected to deal with missing links in the communication industry. My expectation is that the chairman communication should tell us how much is this fund. Just a moment, sir. Just a moment. Please, this is a serious business. No, it's not difficult. It doesn't have to be right. But you can say we've generated 100 billion, 300 billion, and this is the level of deployment of that fund. Let me drop my point. You have your brief. And the acting chief whip should allow me, please. Listen to me in silence. And that is why I said that there is some memory issues, that is associated with ranking. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, please let us give value to this. I understand the idea. You said, let us make more inquiries and be seized so that we know, we are not looking at the motion itself on the need to inquire because of the urgent needs of Nigerians. We are looking at where should we domicile the motion? Where should we direct this inquiry? Is the Universal Fund independent now of communication? If it's so, we now tailor the motion in that direction. So the need, absolute need for the motion is very important. And this, we know that NCC regulates. But we know that during the context of that regulation, they have been mandated by law to address these issues that where it's not commercially viable for network providers to provide network. I know it's being done. So it's not out of respect from their responsibility. They will regulate. But there's a government that can intervene to provide network. So let us, in compliance with the request of the Speaker, make this inquiry today and bring back this motion because of its contemporaneous nature, because of the need for us to address this cashless policy, the issue of addressing network challenges. This goes to the core of it. And where it's not commercially viable for network providers, government should intervene. That is what government exists for. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think nobody can take away the import of what Honorable Toby is giving. We are just, this one aspect that he brought in. And you take the compliance of the Electoral Act, where you are supposed to have services in virtual or this. If we are able to attain that provisions of, and then supplementing where the service providers are unable to, we will have a good coverage of the country. But because we do not know where the responsibility is domiciled properly, that's why I'm begging that my brother should step down to allow us, allow him have more investigation into what is how it will be handled and the agency that's supposed to handle. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would heed your advice. But I just wanted to add, like the leader said, when the CBN governor came to see us during the Naira redesign and cashless, he said they had 30,000 mobile agents registered to do banking transactions in all the communities. And we were also told that most banks closed down in the rural areas. These are services, this is a service that should have been provided for them. So, Mr. Speaker, if a lot of money is not coming from the government, it's from the telcos, and they are giving it to NCC, the USP is domiciled in NCC, if they have not done their job, is it not our responsibility to call them, to ask them, how come we don't have universal coverage? Because I don't even want to go into elections so that it doesn't become a controversial thing. So, yes, I've heard that they are doing it gradually, they will do it in one day, but they should come and tell us how much have they expended. Even the emergency response system.
We are not refusing, we agree to every import of your own motion.
Okay, Mr.
But
Speaker.
for technicality, that's why we're asking you to step down to do more legislative action. That's all.
Yes, Daddy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So I'll step down the motion for further consultation.
Thank you. Motion step down by the leave of the House.
Daddy. Yes, Daddy.
Okay. No, please. I have stepped down already. The gavel has gone. Respected colleagues, this 16th order of the day is consideration of the bill for an act to repeal the National Secondary Education Commission Act, Cap N73, Laws of Federation of Nigeria 2004, and enact the National Senior Secondary School Education Commission Bill 2022 to prescribe minimum standards for senior secondary school education in Nigeria, manage the National Senior Secondary Education Commission Fund, and for late matters. All members will recall that the bill was committed to Committee of the Whole on Tuesday, 21st March 2023. The leader will move for his consideration. Leader, move alongside all other bills that have to do with our own office. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, Comrade Peter of Hyozoja Patterson, MNI, I move that a bill for an act to repeal the National Secondary Education Commission, ETC, Act Cap, N7 laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, and enact the National Senior Secondary Education Commission Bill to prescribe minimum standards for the senior secondary education in Nigeria, manage the National Senior Secondary Education Commission Fund, and for related matters, HB 1940, be now considered. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
To 21, 23.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the bill for an act to establish National Social Investment Program and the National Social Investment Program Agency to assist and empower the poor and the vulnerable in Nigeria, and for related matters, HB 2113, be now considered. I also move for the consideration of a bill for an act to establish the National Social, a bill for an act to amend the Federal High Court Act, Cap F12, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, to provide for the increase in the number of judges from 100 to 150, and to make provisions for the regulation of the award of prejudgment in relation to claims burden on commercial transactions in Nigeria, and for related matters, HB 2186, Senate. And also for a bill for an act to amend the Court of Appeal Act number 2013 to, among other things, increase the number of judges of the court from 90 to 110, provide for the integration of virtual court proceedings, and for related matters, HB 299 and 2126, be read for the second time. A bill for an act to amend the Association of Nigeria Accountants of Nigeria, Act Cap 826, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and for related matters, HB 2157, be considered also. I also move that the bill for an act to establish the Federal University of Agriculture, Dadinkowa, Gombe State, to make comprehensive provisions for its due management and administration, and for related matters, HB 652, be now considered. Is that all?
Honorable Maki, acting whip.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleagues. I'm Abubakar Maki Eleman. I'm from Jigawa State. I represent Madam Kaugama Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion heavily moved by the acting leader of the House. I so second. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Respected colleagues, those in favor of the motion say aye. Against say nay. That's it. The 23rd order of the day is constitutional of report of the committee on, the 22nd order of the day is constitutional report of the conference committee on the bill on a bill for an act to amend the National Center for Women Development Act Cap N15 Laws of Nigeria 2004 to enhance the functions of the center and rename the center after Mariam Babangida and following matters. All members will recall that the report was laid on Tuesday, 4th April 2023. Honorable Onanuga will move for the consideration. What's going on?
Honorable Obanikoro, Honorable Kinsley, Honorable Quinsley.
Yeah, moving for the consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Rep. Otumba Adewumi Oriyomi Ononuga. I represent the fabulously united people of the Kene Shagamu Remo North. I am from Ogun State. I move that the House do consider the report of the Conference Committee on a Bill for an Act to amend the National Center for Women Development Act, Cap N15, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to enhance the functions of the center and rename the center after Miriam Babangida, and for related matters, and approve the recommendations therein. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Seconder. He for she.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, respected colleagues. I remain Honorable Barrister Vincent Ekene Delichukwu Ofumelo, Honorable Member representing the good people of Oyi and Ayamen Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Anambra State. Deputy Chairman, House Committee on Women Affairs and Social Development. Mr. Speaker, I rise this afternoon to second.
I didn't hear that.
Deputy Chairman, House Committee on Women Affairs and Social Development. Mr. Speaker, I rise this afternoon. This powerful motion as moved by the Chairman, House Committee on Women Affairs and Social Development. I so second, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, respected colleagues.
Respected colleagues, those in favor of the motion say aye. Against say nay. That's it. The 23rd order of the day is consideration of report of a committee on agricultural colleges and institutions on a bill for an act to establish federal agriculture, Umerum, Anambra State, to make comprehensive provisions for its due management and administration and following matters. Honourable members recall that the report was laid on Wednesday, 29 June 2022. Honourable Manur Babana Agudi will move for his consideration.
Mr. Speaker, Honourable Munir is not on the floor. I move that the consideration of this report be stepped down.
I want to beg colleagues, can we suspend our rules? Look at the date when this report was laid. 29th June. And since then, we have not been able to do justice to this person. I do not think it's fair. I don't know who sponsored the bill, but I think we should be fair too. Please, you should take it for us, sir.
In that regard, Mr. Speaker, I move that we do suspend our relevant rules to enable the removal of the sponsor of this bill is here present, so I can accordingly move that the House do consider the report of the Committee on Agricultural Colleges and Institutions with regards to a bill for an act to establish Federal University of Agriculture, Umerum, Anambra State, to make comprehensive provisions for its due management and administration and for related matters, House Bill 1658, and approve the recommendations therein. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues. My name is Idem Unyime. member representing Ukanafun, Rowanam Federal Constituency of Akwa Ibom State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to move that the House do consider the reports of the Committee on Agricultural Colleges and Institutions on a bill for an act to establish Federal University of Agriculture, Umerum, Anambra State, to make a comprehensive provision for its due management and administration, and for related matter, HB 1658, and approve the recommendation therein. Mr. Speaker, I so move.
I thought the chairman rules have already moved for that, suspending our rules, unable to take. So you are to second the motion. Thank you. Sir, and then move the motion again. Thank you.
Moved by Chairman, Rules and Business, I so second.
Colleagues, those in favor of the motion say aye. Against say nay. Let's have it. The 24th order of the day is consideration of two reports of the Committee on Basic Education and Services and Health Care Services. Honorable Julius will move for its consideration.
Mr. Speaker, I'm Professor Julius Ihonvere, representing Owan Federal Constituency, Edo State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to move that the House do consider the report of the Committees on Basic Education and Services and Health Care Services on a bill for an act to introduce preventive measures and teachings of breast and cervical cancers into the curriculum of a compulsory subject, civic education, for senior secondary schools in Nigeria and for related matters, HB 1932, and approve the recommendations therein. I so move, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, should I go to the second one?
Honorable Bio.
Mr. Speaker, my dear honorable colleagues, Mohammed Omar Bio is my name. I'm always standing and speaking for the people of Barutin and Kayama Federal Constituency. I am from Kwara State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion. I rise to second the report as presented and submitted by Professor Julius Ihonvere from Edo State. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I so second.
Respected colleagues, those in favor of the motion say aye. Against say nay. The ayes have it. Respected colleagues, House Leader, please move for the resolution for the resolve of the House into Committee of the Whole to consider reports.
Welcome, sir. Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, I am Comrade Peter Ohionzo-Jakpatasin, MNI. I move that this House do dissolve to Committee of the Whole to consider report. Mr. Speaker, I so move.
Order. I asked you to move for the two reports, so I assume you have moved for the two reports under you. So, wait a minute, allow him to move the first one.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I apologize for that lapse. I remain Julius Ihonvere, representing Owan Federal Constituency, Edo State. I rise to move that the House do consider the report of the Committee on Basic Education and Services on a bill for an act to introduce preventive measures and teachings of sexual and gender-based violence or into the curriculum of a compulsory subject, civic education, for all secondary schools in Nigeria and for related matters, and approve the recommendations therein. I so move, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much.
Honorable Boni. Gino Gwedi, not Senior Gwedi.
Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, my name is Honorable Muhammad Adam Al-Ali, Passengers North Federal Constituency, Plateau State. I rise to second the report heavily moved by Honorable Julius Ihombere. I so second.
Respected colleagues, those in favor of the motion say aye. Against say nay. That's have it. Leader move that the House do resolve into committee of the whole to consider the bills and reports.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Once again, I move that the House do dissolve the committee of the whole to consider reports. I so move.
Honorable Maki.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My honorable colleagues, I'm Abubakar Maki Eleman. I'm from Jigawa State. I represent Madam Dorikauga, Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I do second the motion that the House move to the committee of the whole. Thank you. I so move. I so second, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Colleagues, those in favor of the motion say aye. Against say nay. The ayes have it. The House is hereby dissolved into the committee of the whole to consider reports and bills. Respected colleagues, the first bill to be considered is for an act to repeal the National Secondary Education Commission Act Cap N73 Laws of Federation of Nigeria 2004 and enact the National Senior Secondary School Education Commission Bill to prescribe minimum standards for senior secondary education in Nigeria, manage the National Senior Secondary Education Commission form, and for later matters, I now invite the Honorable Julius to give the signature of the bill.
Mr. Speaker, I am Julius Ihombere, representing Owan Federal Constituency, Edo State. Mr. Speaker, this bill...
Chairman.
Pardon?
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, Mr. Chairman, point of correction. Yes, I won't add that. Mr. Chairman, the bill is an executive bill, and it has been here like twice. We've gone through it. The issue is straightforward. It is essentially to consolidate the functioning of the Senior Secondary School Commission, to give it legal backing, to function and regulate as an intervention agency for all secondary schools in the country. And the objectives are clearly set out in the document circulated, and it is meant to improve the function and improvement of the quality of infrastructure in our secondary schools across the country, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Colleagues, what the Secretariat did was to bring out only the clauses that had issues as observed by the executive, and so they have done the correction, yes, and expectedly we should pass it. Thank you. 4 of the relevant correction carried, 21, 22. Thank you. Explanatory memoranda are long title. Thank you. It is assumed that the remaining compendium in terms of what is contained in the report stands. Thank you. The second bill to consider is for an act establishing national secondary investment program. Sorry, the second bill to consider is that of the is for an act to consider the national social investment program and the national social investment program agency to assist and empower the poor and the vulnerable in Nigeria and for them matters. Now I invite the leader of the House to give the signature of the bill.
Mr. Speaker, or Chairman, please, my dear colleagues, this bill seeks to establish the National Social Insurance Investment Program to empower the poor and vulnerable in Nigeria. I'm sure the appropriate chairman must have done, a good job here, and the recommendations are quite clear. But most importantly, we know that this administration pays, a lot of attention to promoting and empowering the less privileged in the society. So, the responsibility is upon us to at least support anything that will help to alleviate the poverty of the less privileged in our society. So, on that note, I seek your cooperation to speedily consider this for,
It's a PDP? Hmm? I thought I had him say that. Thank you very much. That he didn't see it. It's in front of you. It's before you. Yes, sir. Check through. check through. Well, colleagues, this is one very important. Thank you, sir. One very important instrument of legislation, I think that's important. It is an executive bill. As of today, Nigerians are benefiting from this social investment scheme, but they want to now put an institution and legalize it, make it into a law that can be implementable and sustainable. So we should all support. Thank you. Cross 1, 2, The gavel has gone. Okay, sir.
It's very important, sir. Mr. Chairman, my name is Jima Abdurrahim Alajide. I represent the Gospel Lamera constituency. Application, this bill shall apply throughout the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Does it include states? That's the clarification, sir.
The federal government are the one doing that. Apply throughout the federal government means then it will be compliant with section 14.4 of the Constitution. They will not leave any segment. I think that's just the import of what we have here. Thank you. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34 schedules. Explanatory memoranda along 30. The third bill to be considered for an act to amend the Federal High Court Act F12 Laws Federation of Nigeria 2004 to provide for the increased number of judges from 100 to 150 and to make provisions for the regulation of the award of prejudgment in relation to claims bordering on commercial transactions in Nigeria and foreign matters. I now invite the leader to give the synopsis. Is that it?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The bill I have here, or which we have actually, seeks to increase the number of judges and also to make provision for the regulation of awards, prejudgment, which they never had the provision there before. This is to, enhance the process of delivering of justice to the people. So, on the strength of that, I seek your, cooperation to consider the bill. Thank you very much.
Respected colleagues, clause 1, 2, 3, 4, explanatory memoranda, and long title. The fourth bill to be considered for an act to amend the Court of Appeal Act 2013 to, among other things, increase the number of justices of the court from 90 to 110, provide for the integration of virtual court proceedings, and following matters. Now invite the leader to give the synopsis. Virtually the same as possible.
No, come and take your job. Mr. Chair, this bill is similar to the one we just considered. It's about enhancing and promoting, the dispensation of justice by increasing the number of justices. As we all know, there are a lot of complaints about delays in delivering of justice in this country because of the inadequacy of judges and other means of rendering their services. This one, in addition to increasing the number, also talks about the use of virtual means, which is a thing that is so common these days. So I believe that the nation needs this, and so we, as representative of the people, we should judiciously approve it for them. Thank you.
Colleagues, clause 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Eight, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, go to second column. You find it in the second column. Explanatory memoranda and long title. No, the secretary have to do a lot of tidying in the final copy. That's the truth. The fifth bill to be considered for an act to amend the Association of National Accountants of Nigeria ACAP A26 Laws Federation Nigeria 2004, and I invite the leader to give the synopsis.
Mr. Chair, this is for the amendment of Association of National Accountants. It's an association that is self-funded, does not require federal government funding. So I urge that we use our church minds to look at it very critically and do the needful and move on with it. Thank you very much.
I hope what is contained in this one, the relevant areas of engineer, the relevant areas of conflict has been cleaned up. That's my prayer. Do we assume that? And we'll take you for your words. Thank you. Grateful. Close 1, 2, 3. Three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Then you have citation. That's 16. Long title. Respected colleagues, the fifth bill to be considered for an act to amend the association. Sorry, I've done that. The sixth bill to be considered is for an act to establish the Federal University of Agriculture, Dadinkowa, Gombe State, to make comprehensive provision for its due management and administration and for land. And I invite the leader of the House to give the synopsis of the bill.
Mr. Chair, my dear colleagues, this bill is an establishment bill. In particular, it seeks to establish the School of Agriculture in Dadinkowa, Gombe State. We know Gombe to be very rich in agriculture production, and by the time this school is established there, it's going to help to promote the knowledge and skills for advancing on agricultural activity in the state, which will favor everybody in the country. So I urge that we look at this, we do consider this bill with the speed of lightning. Thank you.
Thank you, respected colleagues. Clause 1 to 10, 11 to 20, 21 to 27. Thank you. Schedules. Explanatory memoranda. Colleagues, the first report to be considered is that of the Conference Committee on the Bill for an Act to amend the National Center for Women Development Act, CAP N15 Law of Nigeria 2004 to enhance the functions of the center, and they named the center after Mariam Babangida and Fulema. And I invite Onamadou to move the motion for the adoption of the conference report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My highly respected colleagues, my name is Rep. Adewumi Ononuga. I represent the fabulous United People of Ikene, Shagamu, and Remo North. I'm from Ogun State, and I stand to seek your support to adopt the recommendations herein to rename the National Center for Women Development the Miriam Babangida Center for Women Development. We all know who Miriam Babangida was, a very powerful and role model.
It's conference report. So yes, what you are supposed to do is just move motion for the adoption. Because we can't alter anything. That's what our law says.
Okay, sir.
I'll do the story.
So I move that we approve the recommendations herein. I so move, Mr. Chairman.
Chair, he for she second.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, respected colleagues. Once more, I remain Honorable Barrister Vincent Ekene Delichukwu Ofumelo, Honorable Member representing the most natural people of Oyi and I am in Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I am from Anambra State. Mr. Speaker, I rise this afternoon once again to second the motion as moved by the Chairman, House Committee on Women Affairs and Social Development. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman, sorry, I so second. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, respected colleagues.
Thank you very much, my brother. It's adoption. It's conference report. But I'm not done conference. Thank you. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Against any, that's have it. Thank you. The report to be considered is that of Committee on Agricultural Colleges and Institutions on a bill for an act to establish Federal University of Agriculture, Umerum, Anambra State, and for related matters. But that good is not around, so we'll just go ahead and because we suspended our rules to consider the report because of the period of delay it has suffered. Clause 1 to 10, 11 to 27, citation, explanatory memorandum, sorry, and then long title. The third report to consider is that of Committee on Basic Education and Services and Health Services on a bill for an act to introduce preventive measures and teachings of breast and cervical cancers into the curriculum of, of a compulsory subject, civic education for senior secondary schools in Nigeria, and for later. I now invite the legislators to move that they to give the synopsis of the bill.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman, I remain Julius Yomiri on one federal constituency Edo State. I rise to move that the House do consider the report of the committees on basic education and services and healthcare services on a bill for an act to introduce the preventive measures and teachings of breast and cervical cancers into the curriculum of a compulsory subject, civic education for senior secondary schools in Nigeria and related matters, and approve the recommendations therein. I so move, Mr. Speaker. The essential message is preventive measure. This has nothing to do with other things. We all know the information is out there. More and more women are dying of breast and cervical cancers. This is to let people know how to detect it, to understand what it is, how to check yourself and ensure that you catch it early and report to the necessary medical facilities so they can be treated early before it spreads and kills you. It's a straightforward thing related to health and related to SFS. We've had the public hearing, and this is the outcome of the public hearing, Mr. Speaker.
Take the last one
so
that we just...
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
The last one, again, is about preventive measures and teachings. It is nothing to do with sex education. It has to do with teaching about sexual and gender-based violence, and it applies to both male and female in our senior secondary schools and colleges of education, which has been added to it. In fact, the other one was also added to prostate cancer. So it's not just breast and cervical, but also prostate cancers that affects most black men. In fact, I'm sure many of us sitting here, God will give us good health. But I know that many of us know what prostate cancer is. So this is, again, to introduce the preventive measures and teachings, how to detect it, to recognize the signals, where to go to report, how to discuss it with your parents so they don't dismiss it completely, and how they can also take it up with the necessary authorities. It's about health, it's about a better country, it's about a better educational system. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Clause 1, 2, 3, 4, explanatory memoranda. And the last, clause 1, 2, 3, 4, therefore, is a carry. Explanatory memoranda. And then long title. Thank you. Leader, move that the House revert to plenary to progress. You are welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My respected colleagues, I hope there won't be problem when I move from another seat. After all, wherever the Pope is called Rome. So it doesn't matter where I occupy. Whether it's my seat or your own seat, I will still be speaking as leader of this very great house. Mr. Chairman, honorable members, I move that this house do report to plenary and report progress. Thank you, I so move.
Thank you, sir. Deputy Leader, it's a function, it's their own function. You can't take away from them, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Comrade Peter Uhiozoji Akpatisi once again. I rise to second the motion as ably moved by the leader of the House. I so second.
Respected colleagues, those in favor of the motion say aye. Against say nay. The ayes have it. House is hereby to revert to plenary to report progress.
Mr. Speaker, I was waiting for you to take the chair to report Honorable Ikirukaza. She's occupied a seat that does not belong to her.
The deputy whip?
Yeah, I'm surprised, Mr. Speaker. Please.
I think she's learning from her colleague who is occupying the seat of the leader of the house.
Ms. Inkiruka, Honorable Inkiruka.
I said she's learning. The leader is here.
Yes.
So
I, on behalf of the whip of the house, call on Inkiruka to please go back to your seat. Please take your seat and leave that seat alone. Please take your seat. Please. With due respect, madam, take your seat. That's it.
The Amazon of the house. Thank you. Okay.
It means there is something more to what our ordinary eyes can see. When I'm asking you,
she has given you one. She has assumed her duty, and somebody have done the job diligently. And I think he should be allowed to occupy for the remaining period of the day.
Mr. Speaker, I called her to order and you protected her.
No, sir. I'm protecting another person too. Thank you. Respected colleagues, the House and the Committee of the Whole considered the report on the bill for an act to repeal the National Secondary Education Commission ETC ACAP N73 Law Association Nigeria 2004 and enact the National Senior Secondary School Secondary Education Commission Bill to prescribe minimum standards for secondary education in Nigeria, manage the National Senior Secondary Education Commission Fund, and for related matters, approve clauses 4, 21, 23 as explanatory memoranda, and the long title of the bill. Rather than say approve, rather approve the recommendations, approve the report, so that we do not miss sight of the remaining clauses that are supposed to be part of the law. Thank you. The House and the Committee of the Whole considered a report on a bill for an act to establish a national social investment program or the National Social Investment Program Agency to assist and empower the poor and the vulnerable Nigerian and following matters, and approve clauses 1 to 34, the schedules, the explanatory memoranda, and the long title of the bill. The House and the Committee of the Whole considered the report on a bill for an act to amend the Federal High Court Act Cap F12 Laws Federation of Nigeria 2004 to provide for the increase in number of judges from 100 to 150 and make provisions for the regulation of the award of prejudgment in relation to claims bordering on commercial transactions in Nigeria and for related matters, approve clauses 1 to 4, the explanatory memoranda, and the long title of the bill. The House and the Committee of the Whole considered the report on the bill for an act to amend the Court of Appeal Act 2013 to among other things, increase the number of justices of the court from 90 to 110, provide for the integration of visual court proceedings and for related matters, approve clauses 1 to 18, the explanatory memoranda, and the long title of the bill. Respected colleagues, the House and the Committee of the Whole considered the report on a bill for an act to amend the Association of National Captains of Nigeria Act, CAP 826 Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and for related matters approved plus 1 to 16, the explanatory memoranda and the long title of the bill. The House and the Committee of the Whole considered the report on a bill for an act to establish Federal University of Agriculture, Dadinkowa, Gombe State, to make comprehensive provisions for its due management and administration, and for related matters approved clauses 1 to 27, the schedules, the explanatory memoranda, and the long title of the bill. The House and the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Conference Committee on a bill for an act to amend the National Center for Women's Development Act, CAP N15 Laws of Federation Nigeria 2004, to enhance the functions of the center and rename the center after Mariam Babangida, and for related matters adopt the report and adopt the report of committee of the Conference Committee. The House and the Committee of the Whole, respected colleagues, considered the report of the Committee on Agricultural Colleges and Institutions on the bill for an act to establish Federal University of Agriculture, Umerum, Anambra State, to make comprehensive provision for its due management and administration of fundamental matters, approved clauses 1 to 27, the schedules, the explanatory memoranda, and the long title of the bill. The House in the Committee of the Whole, respected colleagues, considered the report of Committee on Basic Education and Services and Healthcare Services on the bill for an act to introduce preventive measures on teachings of breast and cervical cancers into the curriculum of a compulsory subject, civic education for senior secondary education in Nigeria, and for related matters approved clauses 1 to 3, the explanatory memoranda, and the long title of the bill. Lastly, respected colleagues, the House and the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Committee on Basic Education and Services on the bill for an act to introduce preventive measures and teachings of sexual and gender-based violence into the curriculum as a compulsory subject, civic education, for all secondary schools in Nigeria, and for related matters approved clauses 1 to 3, explanatory memoranda, and the long title of the bill. Did I move for the adoption of the report? Honorable Hafiz.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My respected colleagues, I rise as directed by the Speaker that this House do adopt the report of the Committee of the Whole as read by the Speaker. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I so respectfully move.
Deputy Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion as ably moved by the indefatigable leader of the House. I so second.
Respected colleagues, those in favor of the motion say aye. Against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader, move for the adjournment of the House.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My respected colleagues, I remain Honorable Ado Dogwa, Mr. Speaker, representing Tudunwada Dogwa Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I am from Kano State. I rise to move at this point in time that this House do adjourn till Thursday, the 6th day of April 2023 by 11 a.m. Mr. Speaker, as the chair so wish, I so move.
Minority Leader.
No, it's okay. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. My name is Honorable Gideon Gwani. I represent Kaura Federal Constituency. I come from Kaduna State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion that this House do adjourn tomorrow 11 a.m. I so second.
Respected colleagues, those in favor of the motion say aye. Against say nay. The ayes have it. House stand adjourned to tomorrow 11 a.m.